Well, my goodness, it is very strange indeed how things tend to work themselves out. There's a word, it's called karma. Yeah, it's karma. Of course, the other night, there was a Connecticut Sun-Indiana Fever game.
Karma has a twisted sense of humor, and in the WNBA, it struck when nobody expected it. Marina Mabrey strutted off the court after bulldozing Caitlin Clark, convinced no whistle or fine could touch her. She laughed about the controversy online, even cashing in on the hate. But while the league turned a blind eye, the basketball gods sharpened their knives. This is the story of how instant karma turned a dirty hit into the most satisfying payback the league has seen all season. For those who crave justice on the hardwood, this tale won't disappoint. Drop thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe with notifications on. This season's drama is far from over.
J.C. Sheldon viciously poked Caitlin Clark in the eye, and as she was reeling from that, Marina Mabrey came in with the Kennedy Carter body slam, heard around the world, just slammed into the side of Caitlin Clark and sent her viciously flying to the floor.
Tension inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse reached a boiling point the second J.C. Sheldon's outstretched hand found Caitlin Clark's eye. It was an obvious cheap shot, one that stunned the Fever's star guard and momentarily blurred her vision. But the real outrage ignited seconds later. Marina Mabrey, known more for her attitude than finesse, spotted Clark's vulnerable moment and charged across the court with reckless abandon. Ignoring the ball entirely, she threw her entire frame into Clark's side, sending the rookie sensation crashing to the hardwood in a scene that silenced the crowd before erupting it in disbelief.
Oh, and Marina Mabrey's going to get ejected. If the officials saw that, Marina Mabrey is going to get ejected.
Well, they're going to go and look at it.
All they had to do was just eject her. All they had to do was eject her, and none of this happens. If the referees had ejected Marina Mabrey, nothing else happens. The Sophie Cunningham situation does not happen.
This wasn't basketball. This was an unprovoked body check that belonged in an NFL highlight reel, not under the bright lights of a professional arena. Shockwaves rippled through fans, analysts, and even rival coaches, all asking the same question: how could officials allow this to stand? The aftermath should have been swift and decisive. A blatant blindside hit, a vulnerable player blindsided. Logic dictated a harsh suspension, or at least an ejection. Instead, the referees huddled, reviewed the footage everyone in the building had just witnessed, and somehow handed Marina Mabrey nothing more than a technical foul.
Of course, many of you were like, can we ban her? I said I thought she ought to get 10 games for the incident, really and truly. And part of that is, simply put, send the rest of the league a message. The WNBA missed an opportunity to take that. By the way, referees completely bleeped that whole thing up. I mean, they effed it up royally, right? And then after the fact, they came back and said, oh yeah, it's a flagrant 2. You don't say. You don't say. Kathy Engelbert, get some real referees and fire every one of them.
Adding insult to injury, Clark received a technical as well for pushing back after getting poked and bulldozed. Fans could hardly believe what they were seeing. Meanwhile, the WNBA quietly upgraded the foul to a flagrant 2 long after the cameras had stopped rolling, a silent confession that the refs had failed on the biggest stage. Yet Mabrey's response told the real story. She took to TikTok, flaunting her so-called win, and bragging that every comment lining up to call her dirty only added dollars to her pocket. It was a victory lap dripping in arrogance, one that hinted she thought consequences could be bought off as easily as a pair of sneakers.
So Caitlin Clark gets poked in the eye. Marina Mabrey doesn't even see what happens, and she just decides to clean Caitlin Clark out of it. And the referees just said, nah, it was not worth an injection. So Caitlin dribbles. Look at how far she is away from the ball, by the way. Look at how far she is away from the ball. Like, that's literally, she's nowhere near the ball. She just jumps at her face. And then she belly bumps Caitlin. Caitlin retaliates by shoving in an unsportsmanlike manner, according to the referees. And then Marina Mabrey comes from nowhere.
Inside the Fever locker room, frustrations simmered past the boiling point. If officials refused to stand up for Caitlin Clark, then her teammates would. Leading that charge was Sophie Cunningham, whose icy glare telegraphed a promise. Rough up Clark again, and there would be a price.
It was, to me, payback for what was happening the entire game.
but she did it in a way that she wasn't gonna injure JC. She was just making it known, like, if the refs aren't gonna handle it, I will handle it. We'll take care of it, but this is not what you're going to do when you come into our house. It was an intentional foul. It was a hard foul. She brought her down. But with that, you guys, JC Sheldon got up and she was ready to go. So as you guys can see in this video, a whole scuffle breaks out. Sophie and JC are going after it. Both teams are running over, trying to break it up. It kind of goes into the fan section a little bit.
As the clock wound down in a dominant fever win, Cunningham locked eyes on JC Sheldon, the same player who'd started the chaos with that vicious eye poke. With surgical precision, Cunningham waited until Sheldon crossed her path. Then, without hesitation, she wrapped up Sheldon in a bear hug and drove her to the floor. Whistles blared, the arena gasped, and the message landed with the force of the takedown. The Fever would police the court if the referees wouldn't.
Can't keep my hands to myself. I mean, I could, but why would I want to?
Mabrey. That's a flagrant foul.
This was the most beast mode thing that I've seen a woman do in WNBA history.
Fans rose to their feet, chanting Sophie's name like she just drained a buzzer beater. Online, clips of the takedown spread like wildfire, many hailing Cunningham as the ultimate enforcer standing on pure principle.
The Indiana Fever fans were chanting, Sophie, Sophie. Sophie's jersey is gonna sell out tonight. She's gonna be in the All-Star game tonight just from this one play because she was standing on business. It wasn't a dirty play. It was an intentional foul and it was meant to send a message. It turned into a scuffle and I don't think anybody wanted that.
While Cunningham's statement rattled the league, karma was far from finished. Just 3 days later, Marina Mabrey found herself face-to-face with someone she couldn't body check into submission, Paige Bueckers, a maestro with the ball and ice in her veins.
Well, something happened last night during the game. All right, Mabrey was trying to guard Paige Bueckers, and all of a sudden the winds of karma came blowing through the arena.
Mabrey stepped onto the Dallas court oozing the same cocky swagger, still riding high on TikTok views and controversy dollars.
But Marina Mabrey commented on TikTok about the whole situation, and this is what she said. Every time they comment, I make dollars.
But Bueckers had other plans. With the wings up and momentum swinging, she baited Mabrey into a defensive stance she'd regret for weeks. One subtle hesitation, a deadly crossover, and Mabrey's ankle buckled like a folding chair under pressure. Down she went, clutching her knee, as the crowd exploded, roaring at the poetic justice unfolding before their eyes.
This is last night, folks.
Off the floor. Let's take
right
a look
here.
and see
You see
what
Marino
led to this
being escorted off the
shakeup.
floor. That's right. And this was the only thing I could find. But here, you're going to see it. Watch her ankle.
Oh,
I mean, Paige Bueckers
just
puts a
kinda
move on
planted
her.
wrong, gave
and
Cooper surgery
it-
a little bit.
Broke her ankle. And it may have literally,
And she's going
broke
straight back
her
into the
ankle.
locker room.
Heading down the tunnel right now.
but that was
Bueckers has
it.
that handle.
That was it.
to
That was
this-
literally the move.
No elbows, no cheap shot, just pure skill, dishing out the karma the referees had failed to deliver. Social feeds lit up instantly. Mabrey, who mocked punishment days before, now needed help just to limp back down the tunnel. Word of Mabrey's collapse spread faster than any highlight reel could spin. Screens across the country replayed Bueckers' crossover from every possible angle, each showing the same satisfying sequence. Arrogance undone by undeniable skill. Social media swarmed with fans calling it the cleanest payback the WNBA had seen in years, a fitting answer to the body check that went unchecked.
One more time so you can see it. One more time right there. I mean, oh boy. And that may have been all she wrote. Oh. And a lot of people today are like, well, karma may have just come a calling. All right, this is last night right here. This is Mabrey being escorted. She's going to be escorted right here. You can see that to the locker room.
The irony was too rich to ignore. The same player who boasted about collecting dollars from controversy was now limping off, helped by staff. No cocky grin in sight. Even critics who normally condemn celebrating injuries admitted the twist of fate felt like basketball's way of restoring order. For the Fever faithful, it was more than entertainment. It was closure, proof that while officials might fumble justice, the court always keeps its own scorecard. Mabrey's silence online afterward spoke volumes. Not a single brag, not a single wink, only the echoes of a crossover that humbled her in front of the entire league.
Generally speaking, is it bad policy to celebrate anybody getting injured? Yeah, I'm not sure a lot of people are just blatantly celebrating this, but you can be damn sure a lot of people went, oh, how about that? The WNBA did not have the guts to suspend her, so the winds of karma, she's a cold blistering bitch that comes rolling through from time to time on people. The winds of karma came a-calling on Marina Mabrey last night against Paige Bueckers.
What unfolded over those days did more than settle a score. It reshaped how teams approached the Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark. Before, Clark had been a magnet for hard fouls, cheap hits, and rough screens, with many daring to test whether the league's rising star could be rattled. After Cunningham's unflinching defense and Bueckers' masterclass in skillful retaliation, that gamble looks a lot more dangerous.
I mean, we don't know how bad that ankle injury is or anything like that. We don't know if she's going to miss any time. But it's funny how the world works. You know, it's strange how the world works. You sometimes you just do bad onto somebody else. The winds come blowing back in your direction at some point.
Word spread fast. Targeting Clark now means facing teammates ready to trade ejections for respect, and opponents across the league know she's not alone. It's not just about protecting one player. It's a signal that the Fever will no longer tolerate intimidation tactics. Even more striking is how players on other teams, like Bueckers, have stepped in to police the unwritten rules of the game when officials turn a blind eye. In the WNBA's growing spotlight, these moments forge trust, unity, and an unspoken code. Play tough, but cross the line, and the court will balance the scales.
The supposed next Caitlin Clark, Paige Bueckers, is the one that, well, them ankles ain't gonna be the same. I mean, that ankle fell off and went rolling around on the floor. It's crazy. It's crazy. Again, nobody's celebrating the injury. I don't like seeing anybody getting injured, but it's just strange how the karma, quote unquote, the karma works.
The final buzzer in Dallas didn't just end a game. It closed a chapter that proved karma always finds a way, even when officials and league policies fall short. Marina Mabrey's unchecked aggression, her smug profit from stirring chaos, and her mocking TikToks all fed a storyline the basketball gods couldn't resist rewriting. In the end, it wasn't a suspension or fine that brought balance. It was a single crossover, clean and merciless, that left the message on hardwood for millions to replay.
WNBA couldn't do the right thing. WNBA was handed an opportunity to send a message to the rest of the league. We're done with this crap. Caitlin Clark is the money maker in this league. You know, you guys have got to quit doing her like this. By the way, I think that affected the Fever and Caitlin Clark in their next game against the Valkyries. I do. Like I said, it turned out to be a national story outside of the sports world.
For the Fever, this saga forged a new identity, a team unafraid to stand up, a star protected by more than just jerseys, but by a code that says respect is non-negotiable. For fans, it offered rare satisfaction, a reminder that what goes around truly does come back, sometimes on crutches. Karma showed up courtside this week, and no referee whistle could drown out. For anyone watching, drop thoughts below. Was this instant justice, or simply the game working as it should? Smash that like button, subscribe, and stay locked in, because this wild season is just getting started.